You've been there. That moment when your heart starts pounding, your face flushes, and suddenly you say something you can't take back. A sharp word in an argument. A desperate text after rejection. A burst of anger that costs you respect, opportunity, or even a relationship. In that instant, you didn't feel human. You felt weak, exposed. And the worst part? The other person saw it. They filed it away, and the power dynamic shifted without you even realizing it. This is why emotions make you weak. Not because feelings themselves are evil, but because in a world driven by self-interest, status, and hidden agendas, uncontrolled emotion is the fastest way to hand your power to someone else. Today, through the unflinching lens of Machiavelli, we're going to strip away the illusions and show you exactly how emotions betray you, and more importantly, how to master them so you become the one who sees clearly while others stumble. Imagine walking into a room where everyone else is reacting, but you remain still, calm, observing. That single shift changes everything. Most people never reach this state. They live at the mercy of their feelings, wondering why they keep losing ground in negotiations, conversations, and relationships. But you're here because you sense there's a different path. A strategic one. Let's begin with the first hard truth most people miss entirely. Emotions create blind spots that others exploit without mercy. You see, the average person believes their emotions make them authentic. I'm just being real, they say. But in the game of power, authenticity without control is a liability. When you snap at a colleague who undermined you, or pour your heart out too soon in a new connection, you reveal your triggers. And once someone knows your triggers, they own a piece of you. Think about the last time a friend canceled plans at the last minute. Most people feel immediate irritation or disappointment and show it. Their voice tightens. They reply with a passive-aggressive message. The emotionally reactive person hands over the map to their insecurities. The strategically intelligent person. They pause. They observe. They respond with measured warmth or polite distance, leaving the other person uncertain. That uncertainty is power. Here's where it gets dangerous. People don't just react to your emotions. They test them. A subtle jab here, a delayed response there. They're probing for weakness because human nature rewards those who can read and exploit emotional leaks. Machiavelli understood this deeply. In a world of competing interests, the man who cannot master his own feelings will always be dancing on someone else's strings. The psychological advantage is massive. When you stop leaking emotion, you gain the ability to read the room like an open book. Others become predictable while you remain opaque. Practical takeaway? Next time you feel that surge rising in your chest, breathe once, deeply, and ask yourself, what would revealing this achieve? Often, the answer is nothing good. The mask stays on, and the game tilts in your favor. But most people stop there, thinking control means suppression. That's a dangerous misunderstanding. True mastery isn't about killing your emotions. It's about detaching from their immediate command. Consider this. You pour months into a project, only for it to be dismissed in one meeting. The impulsive person spirals into resentment or despair. They withdraw or lash out, damaging their reputation. The self-mastered individual feels the sting, acknowledges it internally, then redirects that energy into calculated action. They ask, who benefits from my reaction? What perception do I want to shape now? This detachment isn't coldness. It's freedom. Sun Tzu would call it knowing yourself before knowing others. Marcus Aurelius practiced it daily, reminding himself that external events hold no power unless you grant it. In modern terms, it means you can sit across from someone manipulating you with guilt or flattery and see the strings clearly, without jerking in response. I want you to reflect for a moment. Have you ever lost something valuable because you couldn't control how you felt in the heat of the moment? Which of these principles is already stirring something in you? Drop it in the comments later. Your experience might help someone else see the pattern. Because here's what nobody talks about. Emotions don't just weaken your decisions. They weaken how others perceive your strength. In social dynamics, consistency of demeanor is currency. When you're up one day and crushed the next, people sense instability. They hesitate to trust you with real opportunities. Leaders don't promote the person who crumbles under pressure. Alliances don't form with those who wear their hearts on their sleeves. Perception shapes reality, and the person who appears unshakable draws power toward them like gravity. Take the classic workplace scenario. Two employees receive the same harsh feedback. One argues defensively, voice rising, face reddening. The other listens, nods, and asks strategic questions. Weeks later, the first is seen as difficult. The second is promoted. The hidden truth: the boss wasn't testing their work. He was testing their emotional control under fire. The strategically intelligent person understands that reputation is built in these small, invisible moments. They cultivate a calm exterior not to deceive, but to protect their inner world and project unassailable competence. The advantage compounds. People start coming to you for advice. They reveal more because they feel safe doing so, while you reveal almost nothing. Practical takeaway: audit your last week. Where did your emotions leak in ways that cost you status or influence? Identify the pattern, then build the opposite habit. One controlled response at a time. And yet, even this level of awareness is just the beginning. The real shift happens when you learn to use emotion as information, never as instruction. Most people treat feelings like truth. Angry: someone must have wronged you. Anxious: danger must be near. But emotions are often outdated survival signals, distorted by ego, past wounds, and social conditioning. The psychologically intelligent person treats them as data points. Valuable, but not sovereign. Picture this. You're in a negotiation. The other side makes a low offer that triggers frustration. The average person pushes back emotionally, revealing how much they need the deal. The Machiavellian thinker notes the frustration, sets it aside, and counters with calm precision. They might even use the other person's visible impatience against them, letting silence do the heavy lifting. This is the difference between being driven and being the driver. Robert Greene talks about this in the context of power. Those who master their inner world master the outer one. You stop being a puppet of your limbic system and start operating from strategy. But here's where it gets darker. When you master this, you'll start noticing how easily others are controlled by their emotions. And that knowledge brings responsibility. This knowledge is for self-protection, awareness, and personal mastery, not for harming or manipulating innocent people. Use it to build your fortress, not to tear down others. Now, let's go deeper into the invisible architecture of emotional weakness. One of the most potent principles is understanding emotional investment and how it creates dependency. You invest emotionally in a person, a goal, or an outcome. Suddenly your happiness, your peace, your sense of self becomes tied to something outside your control. Machiavelli would see this as a strategic error of the highest order. Power comes from self-reliance, not from placing your emotional well-being in the hands of unpredictable humans. Everyday example. You meet someone intriguing. Most people accelerate, sharing vulnerabilities, dreaming ahead, becoming invested. When the other person pulls back, it feels like devastation. The self-mastered person enjoys the connection without surrendering emotional sovereignty. They keep options open. They observe. They maintain their center. The psychological advantage is profound. You become anti-fragile. Rejection no longer shatters you. It becomes data. Relationships become partnerships of mutual value rather than emotional lifelines. People sense this quiet strength and are drawn to it. Contrast this with the impulsive person who pours everything out early. They become easy to manipulate, easy to discard. The high-value thinker moves differently. Slower, deliberate, always preserving the upper hand in the unseen power dynamic. The cinematic truth here is simple. Guard your emotional investment like a king guards his realm. Spend it only where it serves your long-term vision. But what about anger? that most seductive and destructive of emotions. Most people believe righteous anger gives them strength. In reality, it often hands victory to your opponent. Think of historical power players. The ones who achieved lasting dominance rarely exploded in public fury. They channeled it. They let others burn hot while they stayed ice cold. When you react in anger, you become predictable. Your moves become emotional rather than calculated. The other side gains the initiative. A realistic scenario: someone spreads a rumor about you at work. The reactive person confronts them aggressively, escalating the drama and looking unstable. The strategic person smiles, gathers information quietly, and addresses the real source of the threat with precision, perhaps even turning the situation to their advantage by demonstrating superior composure. The takeaway: when anger rises, pause longer than feels natural. Ask, does this emotion serve my goal, or does it serve my ego? 9 times out of 10, it serves the ego. Let it pass. Act from clarity instead. This pattern repeats across fear, jealousy, desire, and excitement. Each one can cloud judgment if left unchecked. The self-mastered individual studies their own emotional landscape like a general studies terrain before battle. And now we arrive at one of the most transformative insights. Emotional control isn't just personal. It becomes your greatest tool for reading and navigating the hidden motivations of others. When you're no longer drowning in your own feelings, you gain the bandwidth to observe theirs with surgical precision. You notice the micro-expressions, the shifts in tone, the inconsistencies between words and actions. You see when someone's confidence is a mask for insecurity, when their generosity hides an agenda, when their silence screams discomfort. Most people miss these signals because they're too busy managing their internal storm. You, operating from calm, become the observer in a world of actors. This is pure social intelligence. Sun Tzu's principle of knowing your enemy and yourself applied to everyday human interactions. Example: in a group discussion, tensions rise. Everyone else is caught up in the emotion. You stay detached, identify who is posturing for status, who is genuinely concerned, and who is playing both sides. Then you speak once, at the perfect moment, shifting the entire dynamic in your favor. The advantage: you influence without force. You protect yourself without isolation. You move through social environments like a shadow, powerful yet unseen. Practical step: practice one conversation this week where your primary goal is observation, not reaction. Listen more. Feel less. Note everything. The insights will surprise you. As we move forward, consider how these principles compound. Emotional mastery doesn't eliminate feelings. It places them under your command. You feel deeply, but you decide when and how those feelings shape your path. This brings us to the Stoic Machiavellian synthesis that defines true power. Appear strong even when you're not. Feel everything, show nothing unless it serves you. In practice, this means building rituals of inner reflection, journaling your triggers, meditating on worst-case scenarios so they lose their sting, surrounding yourself with reminders that the world is not fair, but you can be strategic within it. The average person lives reactively, tossed by every emotional wave. The high-value thinker builds an internal citadel. External chaos meets internal order, and in that contrast, power is born. Let me paint a vivid picture. Picture 2 men in a high-stakes political negotiation, much like the courts Machiavelli observed. One is passionate, eloquent, visibly moved by the issues. The other listens with quiet intensity, revealing nothing. History remembers the second man as the one who walked away with the better terms. Why? Because he never let them see him flinch. You can become that person, not through suppression, but through understanding. Every emotional impulse is an opportunity to practice. Every trigger is training. Most people will never do this work. They'll stay comfortable in their reactivity, wondering why life keeps hitting them. You are choosing differently. You are choosing dominion over your mind. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you master emotional control, you don't become less human. You become more strategically human. You engage with life more fully because you're no longer its slave. The world starts making more sense. You see the hidden game everywhere. The subtle power plays. The emotional manipulations disguised as care. The status games masked as friendship. And you navigate them with calm confidence. This knowledge changes you at the core. You become harder to manipulate, quicker to understand others, and far more effective in pursuing what matters to you. If this resonated, do one thing right now. Like the video. It helps this message reach others walking the same path. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next revelation in human nature and power dynamics. And comment below, which principle hit you hardest today? Have you experienced the cost of uncontrolled emotion, or perhaps the power of mastering it? Share your story. The conversation in the comments is where real transformation deepens. You now carry something most people never will, the awareness that emotions don't have to rule you. In a world of reactive souls, you stand apart, calmer, sharper, ready. The game continues. But now you play it differently. You play it with dominion. Thank you for watching. Until next time, guard your inner kingdom. The world will bend toward those who do.